All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I have not touched this game since the last video that I made. There's gonna be some, some surprises. There's gonna be some surprises. Oh yeah, they added the end game shit. Oh, of course, those all look dog shit. I need to know who buys black still, because like I'm a fan of all black, but it is just all black and then like black with gold highlights. I don't know. It's not my cup of tea. They got a little free surprise for me. Where is it at? What the? Oh, I'm blind as shit. I'm past it. A little bit of double XP, we'll take that. God, I don't even remember what I was doing. It looks like I was starting the M8A1. Oh my God, this is headshots? Are we dead ass? Holy shit. This is the math that I'm gonna have to do. I need to figure out how many new guns there are and see what I can skip. Because if I could skip the melees, I think I kind of want to do that, but I think there's, yeah, I think I'll just skip melee. I always fucking hate doing melee challenges, to be honest. But I picked a pretty interesting time to come back and start getting back on the horse, so to speak, because in the last 24 hours, FaZe Clan has just continued its downfall and has continued to just fall completely apart. Yesterday, we actually saw a ton of people announce that they are leaving FaZe Clan. We're talking, you know, Lacey, Ronaldo, Bradley Martin, just to name a few. And to be honest, I feel like you could see this coming from a mile away. In my opinion, FaZe Clan is just kind of beyond saving at this point. I think most people would agree that really the downfall of FaZe Clan was when they tried to take it corporate and they made it a public traded company. I think what makes these groups of creators unique is that they aren't held back by investors and they don't have to answer to anyone. They don't have to answer to stakeholders who are gonna, you know, threaten to pull money back or, you know, cancel support. And to be honest, I just think what FaZe did, making that decision, just kind of went against the, you know, entire heart and soul of what it is they set out to do in the first place. And I will be honest, whenever Banks took over, I know a lot of people were getting excited. When I saw how obsessed with crypto this guy was, I immediately knew that it wasn't gonna end well. And, you know, regardless of what you think about how things ended, you know, if, you know, he was scamming, if he wasn't scamming, I just don't think someone with that mindset was going to be well suited to manage an organization like this to begin with. But I will be honest, as far as it goes with, you know, my thoughts on, you know, Lacey, Ronaldo, a lot of the newer guys in FaZe. Personally, I never really cared for them. The content they make, I find to just be kind of annoying, to be honest. It's a little bit too on the obnoxious side for me. So, you know, them announcing they're leaving, you know, as someone that's been around, you know, paying attention to FaZe since kind of, you know, the end of the heyday, I guess you could say, you know, FaZe House, you know, the return montage. I'm a little bit more bummed about Adapt leaving, although like I'm not too tapped in with FaZe on a regular basis these days anyway, so it's not like I'm going to be losing sleep over it or anything. And I mean, as far as it goes with me, like I said, you know, I think what FaZe was died a long time ago. These guys choosing to up and leave and jump ship. I mean, you know, despite me not really caring for the content that these young guys made, you know, I'm not going to deny that, you know, they weren't successful. I'm not going to sit here and say that, you know, they don't deserve to have the success they have because, you know, obviously they did something right. I did also see some people were kind of surprised at the fact that FaZe wasn't following Jev on Twitter, which is kind of weird, but I've not paid attention to, you know, who's following who for long enough to know if they were following him in the first place. I don't know if this is a new thing or if they've just never followed him on Twitter, but I do think the Call of Duty space as a whole kind of needs to find a new home. I don't know if it's going to be SOAR or, you know, any of the other teams from back in the day that still sort of, you know, quasi exist. I think SOAR has kind of been the most active of the old teams. But to be honest, I don't think the answer is going to be FaZe. And, you know, Optic's more in tune with the esports. You know, obviously Pomage is over there still, but, you know, I don't think that they're necessarily going to be the haven for people to go. But, you know, I could be wrong. You know, obviously Pomage released a lot of notable montages back in the day, so maybe that is going to be the space that things could kind of be revived in, so to speak. But I would be completely shocked if FaZe didn't kind of just completely dissolve after this. But yeah, just going through their follows right now. It looks like right now they're only following Swag, Zuma, Rug, Rage, Kson, and Apex. Hitch over at Optic tweeted out saying main FaZe account doesn't follow Scope, the only member still holding a sniper rifle in fucking FaZe Clan. What happened over there, man? Zuma, who really is kind of the only big FaZe esports creator right now, you know, outside of, you know, Kson if you include him, but he's kind of more of an owner when it comes to Vegas FaZe. He tweeted out a gif of the scene from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air where Will Smith is standing in the empty house. And I did see this from Scope's Twitter as well. He tweeted out the same gif, and I thought it was kind of ironic that his most recent tweet was that GIF, and then his pinned tweet was him from 2020 being from him being hyped about joining FaZe Clan. And I will say, there's been a lot of talk about, you know, Jev over the years, you know, really being the last FaZe guy that's holding it down, staying true to himself, hasn't, you know, sold out. And I was looking at his most recent video. He put out an Elden Ring video yesterday, a little bit before I think all this drama started kicking off. And there weren't too many people in the comment sections really asking about anything that was going on. And I think largely that's because the people that watch Jev know that he's not super tapped in with any of that. He just kind of exists in his own world. But I mean, whatever ends up happening with, you know, Jev on his end, I think, you know, Jev is going to continue to be who he is no matter what organization, you know, is in front of his name. Centric on Twitter also said, if the state of FaZe Clan doesn't make you a little sad, it's probably because you didn't watch them carve out their legacy like we did. They helped a lot of kids escape their struggles and find a place to belong, and they taught a lot of us not to give up on our dreams. And I think really that's what kind of gets lost in all of this. Even with stuff like I was saying, talking about the younger guys, me not really caring, you know, that they're leaving. You know, really ultimately, like, this is gonna be, well, this has been the downfall of FaZe. I think there's been some videos put out where people try to single out one specific thing, one specific owner, one CEO as really being, you know, the downfall. I think it's just been a slow, miserable death that FaZe is experiencing. And it really sucks because, like they said, you know, there were a lot of kids that grew up watching these guys, you know, not even just vlogging in the first FaZe house in New York, but, you know, making videos and joining FaZe up until that. You know, there's people that have been around way longer than I have, I'm sure, who remember when Rain was in Obey getting recruited, and, you know, the journey from, you know, the FaZe house New York to LA. And, you know, it really is a sad, you know, decline. It's really sad to see, but ultimately, I mean, there isn't really anyone they can blame but themselves. But I don't think if I was in their shoes, I would have made any better decisions, to be honest. You know, at the time, what, you know, made them go quote unquote corporate in the first place with trying to get some investor money, they were trying to pursue their dream of having an esports team. And, you know, ultimately they did that, and FaZe has a legacy in CS that will, you know, go down in the history books for sure. And I did see as well, Soar threw a little bit of a jab out, putting out on Twitter that Soar has left Soar Gaming. And I mean, I don't really know too much about Soar, to be honest. I've checked out their channel every now and then, just kind of trying to go down memory lane a little bit. But to be honest, the only times I ever really remember kind of being into Soar was when Nuda was a part of Soar. And then whenever he left, I think he got kicked from Soar, I want to say. At that point, none of the other characters in the Soar house that Nuda was making content with really had me wanting to stick around with Soar at all. Mac, General, guys like that. But, you know, I do remember being a kid, you know, being so excited when the, you know, FaZe recruitment challenges were going on. You know, I spent a good portion of my time when I was sniping, you know, having FaZe as my goal, you know, wanting to join FaZe, wanting to make content with those guys. But I do think people are at a point where they've kind of been preparing for something like this to happen for a while now. FaZe has been kind of losing relevancy as being, you know, a prestigious group to be a part of for a while. So I don't think that Lacey or any of these guys are going to be losing people who are saying, oh, just, you know, you're not in FaZe anymore, I'm not going to watch you anymore, kind of like how things were back in the day. And, you know, for some of the older guys like myself, or people who have been, you know, watching FaZe for longer than I was, I think they're all at a point where I think they'll be able to deal with this. They've seen a lot worse stuff happen to FaZe, you know, during the first part of the downfall. So I think, you know, ultimately the majority of people haven't really been building their entire personality around being a FaZe fan for a while. And, you know, would I ever be sad to see Jev leave FaZe? To be honest, I don't really think so. Because I think what people appreciate about Jev is how uniquely him he is. Nothing about who he is tied to being in FaZe Clan. He's always just been himself since he joined to now. He's just been exactly himself. He's never depended on being in FaZe to really, you know, be the crux of his popularity or anything. He's just kind of carved his own path, and he's never really done anything that would kind of almost force people not to support him. He's not, you know, been involved in any like sketchy crypto shit. But I guess just to kind of wrap things up, I do have a couple questions for you guys that I'm curious to know about. How much longer do you think FaZe can survive without these guys? You know, just being, you know, if we're going to limit it to whoever they're following on Twitter, you know, how much longer do you think they can sustain themselves after this? And is there an organization out there, you know, whether it be a team or just a group of streamers that you would like to see kind of take up the mantle and, you know, become that next FaZe, become that next big organization for content? Let me know who you would like to see become that down in the comments. I am recording this as I am editing the the next day. I just wanted to add this in because a couple updates have come out with the FaZe drama. Kason and Your Rage have also left FaZe Clan, and this leaves FaZe Clan really just following 4 people, and those people are going to be Swag, Rug, Zuma, and Apex. Obviously, Rug is the guy in charge right now. Zuma said he's under a contract with the esports side of FaZe, and he's, you know, spoken very highly of how the esports side of FaZe is operated. And Swag actually did come out and say that basically he's not leaving until Apex leaves. So as of right now, at least, it seems like these guys aren't going anywhere, and it'll be interesting to see how exactly they go about managing what their next steps are going to be. Ooh, we got some fucking standoffs. I finally get one of the new maps in the rotation. I've been waiting to try them out, which granted, I mean, it's fucking standoff. I've played the shit out of this map. Okay, and I'm fucking using the M8A1. I'll fucking take it. Oh yeah, this brings me fucking back. I have a fucking cord that my hand keeps hitting, and it's fucking about to make me crash out, dude. There are a couple spots that are weird with like the ability to double jump. You can peek a lot of these walls, but nothing that's throwing me off so far. Nothing that feels like it shouldn't belong, or it couldn't have already been a feature. Because if anything, you should be able to skip these ladders if you weren't a dumbass like me. Standoff feels pretty good, to be honest. I honestly had my doubts, but it feels pretty good. But of course, I hope you guys have all had a great holiday. I hope you've all stayed safe and stayed in good health. Hope you guys got everything you were looking for this Christmas, spent some good time with family. But that's all I have to talk about with you guys today. I will catch you guys later.